I am in the middle of my third collection of poems, which is tentatively entitled A Brief History of the Future Apocalypse, though I worry that I may have to revisit that. I began work on the project when I was on the Amy Lowell Traveling Poetry Fellowship in 2014. I was in South America and all over Western and Eastern Europe mostly, visiting sites of various ruins. And I thought I was writing about ruin and about the ends of empires and civilizations and the way that poetry has a long memory and civilization has a long memory, and we learn a lot from this long memory about both things we are nostalgic for and things we fear. But as it turns out, because I was traveling so much and I was far away from most of the people I really love, in a strange way, it turns out that the poems are mostly about distance, and especially about the way that language both bridges that distance and often fails to do so. Some of that is reflected in the forms of the poems. There is a long poem called The Bielitz Heilstätten that takes place at an abandoned hospital complex in Brandenburg County outside of Berlin that is written in the form of a series of text messages to my sister. And that allows me to be in the space of this hospital that was a field hospital during 3 wars, 2 world wars, and then the Cold War. And after it closed down was the stomping ground for not 1 but 2 serial killers. This is a very complicated and haunted and chilling sort of place. And the form of the text message allows me to be both immediately present in the place but also communicating to someone far away about it. A lot of the poems in the collection work in a similar way, but it turns out that in addition to that, being someone who lives with a chronic disease and disability, traveling mostly alone, I became very hyper-conscious of my limitations physically. And so some of the poems include in their narrative, in fact, many of the poems include in their narrative aspects of that, like going to Teufelsberg and getting low blood sugar while climbing a hill and having to pause, sort of deal with that and reflect upon the way that having to pause and deal with my body has made me a person with different kinds of perceptions than I might have been had that not been the case. And thinking those kinds of phrases, what if, had I not been, had this other thing been the case, got me also sort of thinking about the ways we use language to construct alternate pasts, mourn alternate futures, and imagine other possibilities in ways that sometimes feel sort of diabolical in the way of alternate facts, but also feel like access to the possible in interesting and sometimes dreamlike and productive ways. So the project is evolving, and I'm sure will change as I work on it, and I hope that as I work on it I will make new discoveries about that and look back on this video and think, oh, I was so naive. But that's the narrative I'm working my way into at the moment, and it's been really fun.